Okay, well, welcome back.
Drinking at the bottle, not thinking about tomorrow. Don't worry, that's a motto, so we keep moving along.
We're back after the big long trip that we took out east that you've been watching. Anyway, after watching all those videos all winter, been putting one up every 4 days. First of all, I want to say I had no idea that it was going to be that many episodes. I still have a couple to go, and it's mid-April now, and I still have a couple to edit and put up yet before the trip is officially finished for uploading. But I thought I would get out today since the weather's nice. It's a nice Sunday afternoon, and I thought I would get out and I was going to work a little bit on an epilogue, which is basically just a riding video where I'm going to just talk about the trip and maybe answer a lot of questions that you've been asking over the past 63 episodes. And what I've done is I've written down the most popular questions, and we'll go from there, okay? And we'll just see what we can do. The first question that I've been asked a lot is, do you think this was a good bike for this kind of trip? Was it the right kind of bike? And what, you know, because this being a kind of known as being an off-road bike, an off-road adventure bike, was it good for doing that kind of a trip going, what was it, 7,900 kilometers, 8,000 kilometers round trip, mostly pavement. And I can say that this bike, this is a 2020 Africa Twin Adventure Sport ES, which means electronic suspension and all the bells and whistles. And I can honestly say that it's perfectly fine for touring. As far as engine capacity, it handles the highways well. It's got plenty of speed for passing trucks and things like that. It's certainly got everything it needs for long hauls. It's got the cruise control. It's got all that stuff. Here, I'll just set the cruise now. And yeah, it's great. Even though it has a lot of off-road engineering, it is perfectly great for doing long cruises. The only drawback I can think of with this bike that other bikes would have an advantage of it is the comfort of the seat. They don't make this seat really designed for long hauls. So I have an aftermarket seat on. It's a little more comfortable than the stock seat. But other than that, it's fine. You know, I get about, and that's the next thing, is what kind of gas economy. I get about 300 to 350 kilometers before I really have to worry. And I know a lot of guys say they get more, but I've never got more in all the driving I've done on this thing. So yeah, honestly, you can get quite a long stretch going before you need gas. I still think that's pretty good. There we go. Everybody's on our bikes today. We're all getting out. Other people were asking, you know, how was it for finding accommodation up there? You know, I don't know. Maybe you're down the States and you're thinking of doing a trip up there one day. And again, that's something I kind of touched on in a lot of the episodes. But I could say that I did that as a completely itinerary planned trip, and you know, I don't really regret it, but in some ways I do. That has advantages and disadvantages. The advantage is obviously you have a place to go, and the disadvantage is just hang on, gotta focus here, still getting used to gravel. The disadvantage is that you're always pushing to get to your next destination, so you're always concerned about, you know, not stopping. Well, not concerned about, I mean, you don't want to stop at places you could have stopped and checked out. And you can't change your plan, you can't adapt. You know, you have to go to your next destination, and you have to get there in order to have a place to stay. Now, on the other hand, I was warned that if I didn't do it that way and I didn't plan every single day for 27 days, I could end up sleeping under a bridge. Well, who knows? Maybe some people say that's not such a bad thing. Maybe bring a, just an emergency tent and sleeping bag somewhere, and camp on the side of the road if you have to. Maybe it's nice weather and you can do that. So I'm seriously thinking of doing something like that in the future. So another question I got was that trip too long for a guy your age? I'm in my mid-50s. Is that too long for a guy your age? Is that, did you get tired? And I suppose by the end of it I was starting to get tired and I was pretty much ready to go home, but I wouldn't say it was too long. It was pretty much exactly what I needed to go where I wanted to go on that trip, to go where I planned to go. The hardest part really is getting the time off. I'm not retired yet. I do own my own business, so I can take the time, but it costs your business, and it costs a lot anyway doing it. So it's not something you can take lightly. But yeah, that's the way to do it. Is plan ahead. I planned this trip way ahead, and I got permission from wife and family to go without anybody feeling like I've abandoned my responsibilities at home or anything like that. So I thought, okay, that's great. So I didn't really get as tired as I thought I might get with all the traveling. And I was doing about anywhere from 400 to 550 kilometers a day, but I felt fine doing it. I think it's because it's the only thing I was doing. It's not like you do a long hard work day, or you just finish a long hard work week and then you've got to go and ride 400 kilometers. No, you get up in the morning and that is your task for the day, is riding that 400 kilometers, and there's nothing else. So all your energy can go for that, and your body adjusts to that, and it works out okay. So I think that's how some of these long-term motovloggers that go around the world adjust to it as well. I mean, if it's the only thing you have to do, then why not, right? And look at me getting used to the gravel. And this is like loose marbly stuff too in places. I'll admit though, I've been taking this road a few times and we're practicing. After I got back from that big trip, I really started tackling more gravel, and I'm really starting to get a feel for it. And it's not so bad. I'm not quite so afraid of going down a gravel back road or a dodgy gravel back road. I know it still feels like you're riding on marbles, but that's just what it's all about. You get a feel for it. You start to trust the bike more. And really that's what it came down to, was trusting the bike, knowing that even though it feels like the front end's slipping around on you, it's really not going to go anywhere. It doesn't slip out and fall over. At least it hasn't yet. So I just pulled over to read the next couple questions. Why didn't you camp? To save money. And then a lot of guys on bikes like this that do trips like that, that's what they do, and it certainly would probably save some money. And I guess that answer ties back into just my age and stuff. I know it probably would make a better video series. I'd probably get more views if I camped. But I'm in my mid-50s now, and hardcore sleeping on the ground, setting up a tent in the rain, sleeping between two buses at some park on the side of the highway. I mean, to me, I felt that was going to take a lot away from my energy. And if you're not getting properly rested, I've gone on before in videos in the past about how important it is to make sure you eat, but also you have to make sure you rest properly. And trust me, just pulling over and finding some park and pitching a tent and sleeping on the ground and then getting up and then starting off for the next day. You're not going to be rested. Usually I don't sleep very well at all when I do that. That doesn't mean I'll never camp again, but for that long trip, I wanted to make sure that I was able to rest, get all my batteries and everything charged up, and just be fully prepared for the next day. And to me, I thought that was important. So what was the most important things to bring on such a long trip, a 27-day trip like that? Well, I spent a long time working on that list, and trust me, it is an ongoing process. And you need two lists. You need one for if you're camping, and you need one for if you're not camping. Put this down, maybe you can hear me better. So I wasn't camping, so with that list, I can't list everything off the top of my head because it's a long and ongoing process for that list. But I can say some of the most important things, and it may even be things you never use. You know, you need to bring your tire repair kit. And hopefully that's if you have tubeless rims like I do. If you don't have tubeless, you're going to need to bring a lot more tools and know-how. You need to bring your CAA card, just in case you do need a tow, or someone to come get you, or give you gas, or whatever. And even though you're not camping, you still need to bring food and stuff to make food with on the side of the road. That's important too. So everything else is just conveniences and luxuries, I think. Of course, you know, you need to pack clothing and all that stuff. And again, doing all this, you write down everything you need, or you think you'll need, but then you have to cut it down to bringing as little as you can get away with. Because whatever you bring, you got to carry with you. And yeah, that's the hard part. You can't just bring everything. It's not glamping. And honestly, the less you can get away with, the better. Okay, so some want to know, what were the most scenic areas and the best riding roads of that whole trip, going in all those provinces? And again, this is just off the top of my head. I didn't really sit down and think about this too long. I mean, everything was good. There was all kinds of really nice roads. And obviously weather plays a factor in it too, on how good of a time you have. But the most memorable times of that trip for riding, the first thing that comes to my mind was crossing the Avalon. That was an experience that was definitely new for me, and you just felt like you were on another world. You know, the only thing that looked like Earth was that one highway just going across the middle of endless plain bog, or whatever you call it. It was just incredible. I did a little bit of droning out there. That certainly was probably the most memorable, even though it's got it to be some high winds. It was pretty good. The other most memorable, obviously, was Gross Morn, going through there, but unfortunately it rained a lot there, so I didn't get to experience it to its full potential, and there was a lot of really bad drivers around there that you had to really watch the way everyone was driving around you, so that took away from it too. But again, not meaning to complain too much, but those are the pros and cons. So yeah, the Gross Morn and certainly the Avalon. So both were on Newfoundland. There was obviously Nova Scotia had some great riding roads as well. I found as far as the roads, the roads going across the interior of Nova Scotia are the best. They're quiet, not too much traffic, they're in decent shape, and they're just constantly winding through the forest. There's no houses, there's no hydro poles, it's just these winding roads going through forests and fields and valleys, and And then there's some nice roads that go along the rivers and stuff. You know, I definitely think those are some of the nicest roads I've ever been on.